All right, Ulises, a continuation of our discussion of the Rays 40-man roster dilemma, getting into some of the very tough Rule 5 decisions that the Rays will have to make inevitably.
It's a lot of fun stuff. So again, like I said on Tuesday's episode, grab your highlighter, grab your pen, pencil, everything that you need, and let's start talking about this Rule 5 draft eligible players right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays as well. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and you can email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. So, Ulises, picking up where we left off from yesterday's episode, we think we got our 60-day IL decisions situated, which included dumping Jimmy Yacobonis from the 40-man roster. So as of this recording, again, you and me playing a co-GM here for the Rays. We have a cool 40 men on the 40-man roster. But wait, the Rule 5 draft's coming up. We got more work to do.
Yep. That's true. That's true. And so for those of you that don't have the Rule 5 eligible players in front of you, well, it's a long list, Kevin. It's a long list. And I'm not going to name every player. I am going to give you my list of 12 possible Rule 5 eligible players. So if I miss a name that you, the listener, are like, how are you leaving, I don't know, let's say Simon out of this conversation? Well, he's in for you. He might not be in for me. So here are my 12 Rule 5 eligible players that could possibly be protected in no order necessary. Curtis Mead, Tosh Bradley, Colby White, Xavier Edwards, Blake Hunt, Heriberto Hernandez, Osleivis Basabe, Cameron Meisner, Greg Jones, Brett Wisely, Austin Shenton, and Grant Witherspoon.
Okay. Yes. And let me add this. So several months ago, Eric Longenhagen from Fangraphs put together a write-up of Rule 5 eligible prospects and the inevitable roster crunch that comes with that, and some additional names to maybe keep in mind here. Not these are just names that he threw out there as possibilities, just in case people are wondering. You have John Doxakis. You have Michael Mercado, Justin Sterner, Evan McKendry, Diego Infante, Chris Moeller, Ronnie Simon, I imagine Simone, Joe LaSorsa, and there's also, I think that's just about everybody. And full disclosure here, several of those guys I've not heard of. So I think it's safe to say that they will not be, that they're very, very, very fringe guys, and that they would not be added to the 40-man. But I just wanted to throw out those additional names. And I should also, full disclosure, I don't know if all those guys are still on the team since that article was written in late June. So I'm sure there's somebody out there that, follows every single roster move of the Rays. But just wanted to include that as well. One name, one one individual or one thing we forgot to add or mention regarding these Rule 5. We actually made a grave mistake, a grave error in not including this. I think we need to add SimpliSafe to the Rule 5 eligible prospects.
That's a great point. And you know why? Because as everybody knows that athletes rise and fall in the ranks, maybe in the minors and to the majors. But when it comes to saving money, people, SimpliSafe will always be at the top with 24/7 professional monitoring. When a threat is detected, SimpliSafe's monitoring professionals promptly contact you and dispatch first responders to your home, even if you're away or unable to respond. Our monitoring experts use proprietary response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority police dispatch, and that will make you feel so much safer. It'll blanket your home with protection. So do not miss this chance to save big when you protect your home with the best. Get 40% off your order. You heard me right. 40% off your order when you visit simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb today. Okay, you can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes. And again, simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb. Go today. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
All right, Ulises, getting into the Rule 5 here, how do you want to go about this exercise? I mean, we could look up and down. Again, we're co-GM here. We're trying to work through this thing. We could look at our current 40-man roster and say, this handful of names, definitely not bringing back. There are so many good quality players that needed to be added to the Rule 5. So let's just go to the chopping block and, for lack of a better term, cut off the guys that we don't want or think are deserving to be part of our future in 2023? Or is there another mechanism you want to go with?
I think in order to keep all the numbers intact, I think it's easier to be a visual learner, at least for me, to do one and then one. By that, I mean, who is that one guy from the Rule 5 that you want to protect, and then who's coming out of that 40-man? I think that can give us a clearer view of who for who. And again, it doesn't actually need to be who for who, but it just makes it easier. Like, one is coming in and one is going out. So how about that, Kevin?
Right.
Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Co-GM, let's roll with it here.
Okay.
Where do you want to start?
Okay, I'll start with an easy one. Okay. The first guy I'm protecting, yes, he is number one. He's the number one prospect of Locked On Rays if we had a ranking. Because guess what? You're on our show. You get a bump, and that would be Australia's own Curtis Mead. He gets protected on my side. My goodness, this guy is 22 years old. He's a stud. Let's look at the numbers, man. 278 batting average, 376 on base, a 486 slug. That is an 862 OPS. Again, he's 22 in AAA, 129 WRC plus. The walk rate at 13%. The walk rate, 13%. And you're like, well, he probably strikes out a lot, doesn't he? 20%. 20% strikeout rate. This guy is a stud, okay? Yes, the end of the year did not end like he wanted to, of course, with the injury, but he's back in Australia. I am pretty sure he will be playing there in the Australian League to get ready for the World Baseball Classic, which would be amazing to see him in. Yes. I'm taking Curtis Mead as my first guy to protect from this Rule 5 draft.
I agree. And let me also note this. I guess we could kind of make this a little bit easier on ourselves, because if we're going to add Curtis Mead, don't we just subtract one of the impending free agents that are currently on the 40-man, i.e. David Peralta?
I believe the free agent's already off from that count.
Oh,
Yes. So if there's no, so Kevin Kiermaier would be up there because I believe the team option, but we were playing with the 60 IL, so we can't do that game. It would have to be somebody from the 40.
You have the spreadsheet in front of you. So on your present 40-man roster, there is no David Peralta, there is no obviously Kevin Kiermaier, and there is no Mike Zunino either.
No, correct.
Okay.
I guess you could play with Kevin Kiermaier with because of the 60-day IL and team option. I guess you could.
But we've already decided that
exactly
we're paying the buyout there. So
exactly. So a new name has to be popped up.
Yes.
A new name.
Look, I'm gonna make it easy here.
Yes.
I'm
start with the easy names.
All right. We add Curtis Mead, and we remove, maybe his name isn't easy to pronounce, but I don't know how he sticks around. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, to be honest.
I know.
Bligh, first name, last name Madris.
Bligh Madris?
I don't want the pronunciation police after us.
We do have a pronunciation police.
I will neither
confirm nor deny. I do not recall. Okay.
I will just spell out his first and last name and leave it at that and say he's off the roster. Yagan, Curtis Mead, welcome to the 40-man.
Yes, I agree. Bligh, I'm sorry. It's been fun. I know you're a AAA champ and you did well in those two final games, but and you did well with the Bulls. I mean, honestly, it was a great pickup for the Race Farm system. He did well in AAA, like really well. He found it there, but again, like you need space. You can't keep everybody, people. You can't. So all the Bligh Majors fans, I'm sorry, he gone. So Kevin, it's your pick if we want to do this way. Which guy would you protect next from the Rule 5 draft eligible player pool?
A guy who has maybe surpassed Curtis Mead on the hype train this past season, but he struggled in his first taste of AAA. It's almost like you've got your 1A hitting prospect, 1A pitching prospect, and that is Taj Bradley. So I am obviously adding him to the 40-man roster. While I don't know if he's quite yet ready to make an impact on the big league club, I think it's more than important that he is part of the fold. Now the question is, who are we taking off? And are we taking off a position player or a corresponding pitcher to create this spot for him?
Good question. By the way, for those that don't know, Taj Bradley, 21 years old. You're right. He did struggle in the beginning of his AAA call-up, but the last 6 starts, he didn't allow anything more than 3 runs, and he always pitched at least 5 innings. So basically, his worst start was 5 innings pitched and 3 runs allowed. So the last 6 starts, you could see some improvement from Taj. So hopefully we
and you never know. With again, we can just look at the numbers. I'm not watching Durham Bulls games. I'm being frank. I'm just not.
We see the box score. We see we see what's on Fangraphs.
Yeah, we see the box score. Yeah. We hear the reports, all the scuttlebutt, whatever it may be. You don't know if he's going through something, working on a particular pitch. It's the minor leagues. You're testing out different things all the time. All right, you got called up to AAA, kid. Before you're ready for the big leagues, we need to make sure you have this sequencing intact, or we need a little bit more bite on the curveball. So throw nothing but curveballs, or we want to see how your fastball plays. So throw nothing but fastballs. There's myriad things that it's very, very, it can be very misleading minor league stats and just going off of that, let alone that, maybe the defense didn't back them up.
True.
So I will, it could have been going with some sort of minor injury issue or ailment that we don't know about. But I think it goes without saying that, yes, he has to be added. So who are we taking off, though?
I'm taking off a guy who has had a good, stint with the Rays. He's a pitcher. He wasn't even on the roster for the wild card series, people. And I don't think a lot of people talked about this. JT Chagua, it's been nice getting to know you. You weren't in the wild card roster. You didn't pitch you didn't pitch a single pitch. You weren't on. So if that's what they think about JT in the wild card series, how is he not expendable throughout the winter? Like, I'm sorry, JT, you're gone.
So, and I'm not disagreeing, but you're going. I am under the impression you believe there is more potential or upside, or one of these guys can provide more value than JT Chagua, and I'm talking about Calvin Fauché is a name I'm going to throw out. Sean Armstrong is another name I'm going to throw out.
I would throw a better name, I think, than those two guys. I think Javi Guerra showed a lot of improvement in the last month in September. So I would throw his name out in the ring. But yeah, JT, and again, we always say this. If you're a Rays fan, you know the story. We trust pitching development with the Rays, and they will pick out anybody and make them a gem. So you don't need to hoard the JT Chaguas. There will be other JT Chaguas, and they can be picked up in February. Even a JT could be picked up in February or March if he doesn't have a team. It's just right now with this roster crunch, you really need to trim a lot of the fat, and maybe some things that are not even fat. Maybe good players need to be cut just because of the depth, and that's that's the curse of having a good system. You're going to have to cut good players. JT's a good player, but I'm dipping on JT.
Wow, so you're cutting him before, like I mentioned, like Calvin Fauché.
Yes, but don't get too comfortable.
Yeah, don't get too comfortable. Your pink slip is probably going to be coming sooner rather than later. All right,
Sure.
So we've added 2 and subtracted 2. Let's go to and first off with the Rule 5. I mean, I haven't done a deep statistical analysis here, but on average, I would be curious to know how many players the Rays add to their 40-man year in, year out on average. 4,
That's a really
5,
good question.
6. They're not going to add 10 guys. Like, that's just not cool.
No, I mean, I believe last year they protected 5. Jonathan Aranda, Calvin Fauché, Rene Pinto, Ford Proctor, and Tommy Romero. And so you could go with 5. I know in the past it's been 3. But again,
can you run
it's a
through
weird
those names
year.
again?
You didn't have a Rule 5 last year, so you have kind of a backlog of players here.
Can you run through those names again, just for the audience?
Which names?
The names that were added to the 40-man from the Rule 5, or not, that were Rule 5 eligible last year.
Right. So in November of 2021, every year the Rule 5 happens, the draft, except for obviously last year. But the Rays protected 5 players, and those 5 players were Jonathan Aranda, Calvin Fauché, Rene Pinto, Ford Proctor, and Tommy Romero.
Yeah, Ulises, it's interesting you mention the Rule 5 players, the Rule 5 eligible players that were added last year, because again, we're talking about Taj Bradley, we're talking about Curtis Mead, we're talking about potentially others. We also have to temper our expectations for some of these guys and be patient as to when and if they'll get called up. And another thing is, they may be added to the 40-man active roster, whatever it may be, and they might not make an appearance for the Rays over the course of the season, i.e. Ford Proctor. He made his major league debut with Who was it? The Giants? I can't even remember at this point.
The Giants, and he went deep. I think a grand slam for his first hit or something like that. It was unreal. Good for Ford Proctor, a friend of the program. We had him on last year, or the year before that. But you're right. Just because you protect them, that doesn't mean that they're going to be playing for the Rays. Now, one thing I want to stress. Okay, now that we're kind of getting off the obvious names and building suspense like a good entertaining podcast does. Let's review what the Rule 5 draft actually means. If the player is selected in this Rule 5 draft, they must remain in their new team, in their 26-man active roster, or IL, if there's an IL stint, for the entire season. So if you're a prospect lover and you're like, this kid is like, he's great, he's an A level, there's also the likelihood of like, what is the likelihood of a player in high A, double A, that's never seen triple A or anything like that, that's going to be picked by another team to remain in their 26-man roster? So usually you're going to be protecting guys high double A, triple A. If they have a lot of double A, at bats or innings pitched or some, triple A experience. So this is the deal too. I think that we have to make that known that this is a standard that we use in order to protect these following players.
Which brings me up to my next point. I don't think we're done, but there could be a possibility that with all that backdrop in mind, that the Rays would only add 2. Is there another must add outside of Curtis Mead and Taj Bradley?
In my opinion, again, what I would want to do as co-GM, yes, I have a few more names to protect.
Okay.
I have a few more names to protect.
Should we save those names for a third episode or run through them, co-GM?
You know what? I think we can build a little bit more suspense for people and leave it for the next episode. I'm sorry, but you know what? They said you got to build a good cliffhanger. So maybe for next episode. But I will say, there are interesting names that are still on the board. If you don't remember those names, I will say them again. Colby White, Xavier Edwards, Blake Hunt, Heriberto Hernandez, Oslavis Basabe, Cameron Meisner, Greg Jones, Brett Wisely, Austin Shenton, Grant Witherspoon, John Duxakis, Michael Mercado, Justin Sterner, Evan McKendry, Diego Infante, Ronnie Simon, and Joe Lasorsa, and Jose Lopez. So, there's a whole bunch of names, and we're still leaving out some names, Kevin, that are eligible. So this is really, really fun stuff. But again, thank you so much for bearing with us in this 40-man roster crunch episodes. I think we're having a great time. I hope people are having a good time too. Write in the comments and tell us if we're right so far, we're wrong so far. Who do you expect to be, taken off, and who would you protect from all these guys? We like seeing what you think as well.
All right. On that note, thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On Today podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.